When shall we three meet again? In thunder, lightning, or in rain?
When the hurly-burly is done, when the battle's lost and won.
Macbeth and Banquo, two Scottish generals living under the reign of King Duncan, were returning home to Inverness across a bleak heath. They had just bravely defeated an army of rebels, much to their delight of the king, who was also Macbeth's cousin.
So foul and fair a day I have not seen.
Suddenly, as if from nowhere, three hideous witches appeared. The first witch greeted Macbeth as Thane or Lord of Glamis, which is his correct title.
All hail, Macbeth! Hail to thee, Thane of Glamis!
The second witch greeted him as Thane of Cawdor, which was not his correct title.
All hail, Macbeth! Hail unto thee, Thane of Cawdor! Ho, 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 ho!
The third witch greeted Macbeth as King of Scotland, an honour held by Duncan.
All hail, Macbeth! That shall be king hereafter.
Just before the witches vanished, they also prophesied that Banquo would never be king, but that he would father kings.
Thou shalt get kings, though thou be none.
As the two generals stood stunned, news arrived that the king had made Macbeth Thane of Cawdor in honour of his victory.
He paid me from him, call thee Thane of Cawdor.
The witch's first prediction had come true. Macbeth sent the word to his ambitious wife. Would he, they wondered, soon be king?
Hail, king, that shalt be.
When Macbeth reached his castle, Lady Macbeth, her mind already fixed on the crown, was plotting King Duncan's death.
Look like the innocent flower, but be the serpent under it.
King Duncan duly arrived with his two sons, Prince Malcolm, heir to the throne, and Donalbain. They had come to thank Macbeth for his valour in battle. Lady Macbeth played the charming hostess, but secretly urged her husband to kill the king that very night.
See, our honoured hostess.
Honours deep and broad, wherewith your majesty loads our house.
In preparation for the evil deed, Lady Macbeth drugged King Duncan's two guards.
I have drugged their pussets.
Macbeth, agonizing over the murder, saw a phantom dagger hovering before him.
Is this a dagger which I see before me, the handle toward my hand?
Fearing her husband would fail, Lady Macbeth crept into Duncan's room herself. But the sleeping king looked so like her own father that she was unable to kill him.
Had he not resembled my father as he slept, I had done it.
Lady Macbeth summoned her husband, pouring scorn on his own hesitation. So reluctantly Macbeth took the daggers from the drugged guards and slew the king.
I have done the deed.
With their daggers bloodied, the grooms were blamed. Macbeth, claiming vengeance, killed them both to safeguard his secret. Despite their display of grief, many suspected the Macbeths of the murder. The king's sons, fearing their own lives, fled from Scotland. Macbeth, as next in line to the throne, was then crowned king, fulfilling the third prophecy. Haunted by guilt, but still anxious to retain power, Macbeth worried that Banquo's descendants, not his own, would one day reign, as had also been foretold.
To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus are fears in Banquo that deep.
So Macbeth decided to murder Banquo and his son Fleance. He invited all the local thanes to a feast. When Banquo and Fleance were on their way to the feast, they were brutally attacked by Macbeth's hired assassins. Fleance managed to escape, but Banquo died.
Oh, treachery! Fly, good Fleance! Fly, fly, fly! Thou mayest revenge!
Oblivious to this horrific deed, the other thanes were merrily dining when Banquo's ghost suddenly appeared. Only Macbeth could see the spectre. It so unnerved him that the Queen dismissed their guests, lest wonder at the strange behaviour of their king.
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me.
After that, Macbeth and his queen began to suffer long sleepless nights, filled with nightmares. But Macbeth was still obsessed with not losing the throne, so he returned to the heath to look for the witches. He found them in a cave, chanting over a cauldron, from which 3 visions rose up. The first vision was of an armed head. It warned Macbeth to beware of Macduff. The second vision was of a bloody child. It told Macbeth that no man born of woman could harm him. The third vision was of another child, wearing a crown and holding a tree. This child said Macbeth would never be vanquished until great Birnam Wood came to Dunsinane Hill, where Macbeth's castle stood.
Round about the cauldron go, in the poisoned entrails throw. Double, double, toil and trouble, fire burn and cauldron bubble.
When Macbeth asked if Banquo's heirs would reign, the cauldron sank into the ground, and 8 ghostly kings passed by, followed by Banquo's ghost. The last king carried a glass which showed many kings, and Macbeth knew them to be Banquo's descendants.
Thy crown doth sear mine eyeballs.
From then on, Macbeth was worried about keeping his throne. When he heard that Macduff had joined forces with Prince Malcolm, Macbeth ordered the death of Macduff's wife and children. This lost Macbeth many of his friends, and Macduff and Malcolm were determined to seek revenge. Then Macbeth received a terrible blow. His king, who had never come to terms with her guilt, and whose nights and days were ceaselessly haunted by ghastly visions, finally succumbed to death. Macbeth felt totally alone. Still more grave news followed.
The Queen, my lord, is dead.
Thousands of Prince Malcolm's troops were fast approaching, shielded behind branches cut from great Birnam Wood. It appeared that the wood moved towards Dunsinane Hill and Macbeth's castle, the event predicted to precede Macbeth's downfall.
I looked towards Burnham and anon, methought the wood began to move. Liar and slave!
Macbeth still believed himself invulnerable. Rallying the remaining forces, he waged a bloody war until he met Macduff face to face. When Macduff disclosed that he did not be born by natural means, but by caesarean birth, with the help of a surgeon, Macbeth knew his end had come.
Let fall thy blade on vulnerable crests. I bear a charmed life which must not yield to one of a woman born.
Despair thy charm, and let the angel whom thou still hast served tell thee, Macduff was from his mother's womb untimely ripped.
Now Prince Malcolm, the rightful heir, claimed his father's throne. Macbeth was dead, and the people rejoiced. The wicked reign of Macbeth and his ambitious queen had ended just as had been prophesied. Scotland was at peace, ruled once more by a true and noble king.
Hail, King, for so thou art! Hail, King of Scotland!